This ain't America. This is Derry. What's going on, you guys? It's your boy, Movie Boy Mike. And today, I wanted to talk to you guys about every Stephen King book that takes place in Derry, Maine. I'm not talking about the books that just pass by Derry, Maine, or drive through the town. I'm talking about every story that actually takes place in the town of Derry, where Derry is vital to the actual story. But before we get into all of that, please be sure to smash that like and subscribe button. It really goes a long way, especially in Derry, Maine. Now let's get right into it. So after the Losers Club defeated Pennywise for the first time in the summer of 1958, we then find out what happens in the town of Derry in the book 11/22/63 by Stephen King. If you've ever read the book or seen the miniseries on Hulu, it follows a teacher named Jake Epping, who one day finds out that his good friend Al, who owns the diner locally in town, has cancer and is sadly going to pass away momentarily. But bigger than that, Jake finds out that Al has a time portal in the back of his closet at the diner. Now this time portal takes you to the year 1958. So Al asks Jake to do the one thing that he was never able to do with the time portal: go back in time and save John F. Kennedy from being assassinated. Jake in the beginning is a little uncertain about going on that big ambitious mission, but Jake ultimately decides to embark on that mission to honor Al's dying wish. But before Jake actually goes on that big mission to save John F. Kennedy, he's eager to find out if he changes something in the past that it will affect the future. Now this is the big difference between the TV show on Hulu and the book. In the TV show, Harry Dunning's family is murdered in Holden, Kentucky. That is not the case in the books. In the book, his family are murdered in the town of Derry. So Jake makes an effort to go back in time to first save Harry Dunning from the fate of his father, Frank Dunning, who lived locally with his family in Derry, Maine, of all places. That seems like the place where some type of homicide like this would happen. Jake spends a total of 7 weeks in Derry, 52 days to be exact. So when Jake first moves to Derry, he starts by spending his nights at the local townhouse. Later on, Jake decides to rent an apartment in Derry. Shortly after, he found an advertisement for the apartment in the Derry paper. Jake lived on Harris Avenue. It was $65 a month for the apartment's rent, and it was right next to the Derry airport. People in town during Jake's stay give him a lot of funny looks. He describes the town as very unwelcoming to outsiders. Jake constantly describes Derry as not feeling right. Jake often wondered if he was the problem, or if it was truly the town. Jake felt like Derry was cursed. During his time, Jake also heard a lot of rumors from the locals that a man dressed in a clown suit killed a bunch of kids during the summer. Now this was the summer right after the Losers Club defeated it. But with all the killings and all the unsolved murders that lured within the town of Derry, the locals called it Derry being Derry. But this often left Jake feeling very disturbed. And then during his stay in the town of Derry, he runs into Beverly, Marsh, and Richie on the edge of the Barrens. What a coincidence. Right off the bat, Beverly can tell that Jake is not from Derry. And Jake can tell that Beverly and Richie are not like the other townies within Derry. Richie asks Jake if he knows about the murders. Jake responds that he had heard rumors about it. Beverly and Richie felt like they knew Jake without ever even meeting him. Makes me wonder if Jake Epping and the Losers Club on that note happen to have the shine. But more on that later. Jake constantly had wondered if something bigger had happened than what the locals were talking about. Jake eventually tells them that Harry Dunning's family is in danger. Jake mentions that Frank Dunning is planning to harm the entire family. Beverly then asks Jake if he happens to know about the turtle. Jake replies that he doesn't, but it's then at that point where Richie gives Jake Harry Dunning's address. And this is how Jake knows where to find Frank Dunning on Halloween night to prevent the murder of his family. And throughout the novel, Jake often reflects on this moment in Derry where he met Beverly and Richie, and often thinks about the sanity of the town and its residents. When Jake, Beverly, and Richie all go their separate ways, they tell Jake, and I quote, "Be careful in Derry. It's better now, but I don't think it's ever gonna be you know, completely right. As they go their separate ways, Jake eventually makes it to Halloween night, where he goes to prevent the murder of the Dunning family. Jake then shoots Frank Dunning, and unlike the TV show, Bill is the one who finishes off Frank Dunning. This was not the case in the TV show, but in the book, Jake, with the help of Bill, took down Frank Dunning.
Because he killed my sister.
Saving Harry Dunning, his mother, and his siblings. After this had happened, Jake goes back to 2011, where he's from, and discovers in the new timeline, Harry Dunning was drafted to Vietnam and had died on a mission. It was still a heartbreaking outcome for Jake, but at least he discovered that any footprints he leaves in the past does make a difference in the future. It was then at that moment Jake decided to fully embark on the mission to save John F. Kennedy from being assassinated. And then we have Dreamcatchers by Stephen King. The story follows four friends, Beaver, Henry, Pete, and Jonesy, who all grow up in Derry, Maine. Then, in 1978, their lives would forever change when they save a special needs kid by the name of Duddit, who was being brutally attacked by these psychotic bullies, which tends to happen quite a lot in Derry. Jonesy, Pete, Henry, and Beaver save Duddit from these terrible bullies, and to thank them, Duddit gives these four friends psychological powers and abilities similar to the Shine.
This is completely crazy.
I didn't say that. I thought it.
And then many years later, during the reunion, Beaver, Pete, Henry, and Jonesy go on a hunting trip in the woods of Maine, and during their trip, an alien invader named Mr. Gray tries to take over the planet, starting in the forests in Maine where these four happen to be. After Mr. Gray takes over Jonesy's body, the remaining friends must go back to Derry, Maine to try to find Duddit, as he's the only one who can stop Mr. Gray.
We have to go to Derry. Is that where they're going? No, they're going toward Massachusetts.
Now, this didn't happen in the movie, but in the book, when the remaining friends return to Derry, Jonesy walks past a set of graffiti outside, reading, quote, "Pennywise lives." Now, this scene in the novel really goes to show that no one in Derry who dies ever actually dies. But if it wasn't for this event in Derry, Maine, where these four friends met Duddit, humanity might have been helpless against Mr. Gray. And then we have Insomnia by Stephen King, taking place in Derry, Maine, a decade after the Adult Losers Club defeated Pennywise for the second time. The year is 1994, and the story follows Ralph Roberts, a longtime town resident of Derry, who sadly loses his wife to cancer, which really destroys and crushes Ralph on the inside as he falls into a really bad depression and is unable to sleep. As his sleepless nights go on, he happens to bump heads with Mike Hanlon, the librarian, here and there. It really is a small town, as they say. As Ralph really suffers deep with his insomnia, he later realizes that he has psychological powers and abilities and can actually sense people's aura and energy, not to mention being able to see and feel higher beings around him. Then fast forward, Ralph gets repeated nightmares of a terrifying red shadowy figure known as the Crimson King, who, in case you didn't know, is the main villain in Stephen King's The Dark Tower series. Now, he's a lot like Pennywise. He can shapeshift, bend the laws of reality. At one point when the Crimson King is shapeshifting, Ralph has to look away as the Crimson King exposes his deadlights. Now, this is the same energy that powers Pennywise. With that said, it's been a long-time fan theory that Pennywise and the Crimson King are the same species. I tend to believe they are, but in Ralph Roberts' case, the Crimson King has come to Derry to try to kill Patrick Danville, who in 1994, he's just a kid living in Derry with his family. Now, the Crimson King is after Patrick because in the Dark Tower, Patrick is destined to defeat the King. And to prevent that from happening, the King came to Derry to try to kill Patrick off before these events unfold. I won't spoil the novel for you, but it's pretty much up to Ralph Roberts to stop the Crimson King from killing not only Patrick, but a girl named Natalie. Now, Derry gets name dropped quite a lot throughout the Stephen King multiverse. Stories like Bag of Bones, Pet Sematary, The Tommyknockers, and even parts of The Stand. But the books that truly live in Derry, that allow us to walk the streets and be a part of the town, are It, Insomnia, Dreamcatchers, and 11/22/63. It's amazing how quite a lot happens in this small town, and quite literally reminds me a lot of the town that I'm from. Only difference is, instead of one clown, there is several. That said, I'm curious what you guys think. What do you guys think about all these different stories that take place in Derry, Maine? Let me know in the comments section. Also, thank you guys so much for watching this video. It is always a pleasure. If you guys like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button for more. We all float down here, and you will too. I'll catch you guys next time.
Was that Movie Boy Mike? Oh boy, I think that was Movie Boy Mike.